Shalom, shalom, y'all. All praise to Yahweh. I figured me and some of the brothers we was talking about this the other night, and I figured, man, I'll go ahead and do it today. As y'all can see, I'm here at work. You can see I'm here at work. So just want to give y'all my testimony about how all of this, how I came into all of this, and what led me to this. My testimony starts when I was a child. I can't remember what age I was. I'm maybe about 7 or 8 years old, I want to say. And I remember this, man. I was at my mother's friend's house, my mother's best friend, and of course, her kids. We called them our play cousins and everything. And one particular day, we was over her house. I'll never forget it. It's right here in Nashville. It's on a street called Shelby Street, and there's a little street off of Shelby called South 20th, and that's where my mom's friend used to live. And I don't know what it was. Something just compelled me to go outside. Now I'm a little kid. I just walked to the front door, walked outside, and I walked on the side of the house. And I looked up, and when I looked up in the air, I seen these three lights. Now, I'm gonna describe to you how these three lights was moving. It was three lights. It was like one here, and one right here. But the way they was moving, the lights were moving individually, but it seemed like they was all together, but they was all moving individually. And the way they was moving, the best way to describe it, they was moving kind of like this. But it was three of them, and they was moving all around each other in this crazy way. And I was looking, and I mean, like, my feet were glued to the ground. Like, I couldn't even move when I was looking at this. I had no idea what I was looking at. And it passed on, and I went back in the house, and I told my mother, and I told my parents, and I was like, "Hey, y'all, I just seen these lights floating in the air going over the house." And everybody was like, I was a kid, so they was like, "Oh, okay, well, that's nice." They basically played it off like, I'm a kid, and my imagination. So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, all right. And like I said, I didn't really know what to make. I knew what I seen. I didn't know what it was that I seen, but I knew what I seen. And fast forward some years. The first church, one of the first churches that I remember going to as a child, it's so funny. The name of the church is called Greater Hebrew. And it was not a five. Well, as I got older, I come to learn that that church was not a 501c3 church. They actually used to sit and teach us in that place. It wasn't all this, and God, it wasn't all of that. Like, they used to sit down and teach. And in fact, I want to add this. My grandmama was an evangelist, and she told us, if you go in the place and they're screaming, that you're not learning nothing. Like, literally, we wasn't even allowed to be in them type of churches. And so I remember going to this church named Greater Hebrew. And, like I said, I'm a kid, so I'm just following what my parents are telling me. And, from that point, of course I learned my 10 Commandments and, small little stories from the Bible. And, after that, let's fast forward some more years. I'm sorry, before I do that, I just want to say, I was raised after we left Greater Hebrew, we joined the Baptist church, and I was raised Southern Baptist. Now, if you know anything about Southern Baptist, that's one of the most strictest practices, period. Like, they are very strict. Like, you're in church. I was a choir member for like 14 years. So you're in church like 3-4 times a week. Sometimes on Sunday we would have 3 services, and this is Southern Baptist. I'm talking about the church all the way out in the middle of the country where they screaming and hollering all night. That place. And from that point, like I said, I learned the 10 Commandments. And at that, of course, I was a Christian at that time. And fast forward some years, we started then, as our family, just ain't no easy way to say, as our family started kind of growing apart, we stopped going to church together. And like I said, just being a kid, you just kind of falling in line, just doing what your parents are telling you. And I get a little bit older, and me and my mom, we was going to this church over here in Inglewood. Because like I said, I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. So we was going to this little church over here in Inglewood, and it was one of those God in Christ church. So every time I would be in this place, like the pastor used to always talk about money, 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 like every time. And even I, as a child, I was like, I had never ever been in a church where they just talked about money all the time. And then what's crazy is one day we look up on the news, and the pastor and the other pastor, they're on the news for fraud and money embezzlement and all of this type of stuff. And so that right there, that was that was one of the last times I was ever in a church. And let's fast forward about, I think I was about 15 to 16 then. Let's fast forward like 3 more years, like 18. And I remember this day vividly. My friend, he used to go to a church, but I wasn't going to church no more. And my friend was going to this church, and the church was, it was one of those churches that are really, really involved in the community and with like the younger people. They had like a gym, and they had basketball team and football team and operations. Like they actually did a lot of good stuff for the community. And we used to be there, and we used to just play ball, but I would never go for service. I would always go there just to play basketball. And it just seemed like, I don't know, just from that point on, just something didn't feel right. So one particular day, me and my friend, by this time, we've got us, we're roommates. And one of our mutual friends, he comes over and he was like, hey, y'all, let's go to church. And I was like, okay, I guess so. We're not sitting here doing nothing. I mean, we was literally sitting there smoking weed, getting high, playing the game. Like literally, that's what we was doing. And like I said, our friend showed up and was like, let's go to church. So we all went and got in his car. And as we was making a turn off the street, we got T-boned, got into a wreck. So we didn't make it to church. And it's kind of funny and odd now, because like when I look back on it, it's kind of odd now looking back on it and seeing, like, I was like, dang, it was just crazy the way that happened. And like I said, I hadn't pretty much been in a church maybe since a Shalom, bro. I hadn't been in a church at that time maybe since I was like I said, about 13, 14 years old. Well, now at this time I'm in my 20s, and then something happens. I had a cousin who went to jail. And when he went to jail, he started learning the truth, from being in there around Muslims and Israelites who was locked up. And when he got out of jail, he tried to wake me up. He tried to tell me, and I wasn't hearing it. I wasn't listening at that time. I was just being, regular person, I got a job, place, girlfriend, regular life. So, regular Babylonian life. And so I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, and I'm like, all right. And he was telling me all of that. And like I said, I was hearing none of it. Just kind of fast forward a little bit. I had got to the point to where like I was really doing really bad in my life. Not physically, not financially doing bad, but I was just wicked, man. I was just doing wicked shit. I never robbed nobody. I didn't kill nobody, but I was into a lot of sexual immorality and a lot of immorality. And like I said, I was just wicked as hell. And at that time, I was messing with this wicked ass chick. And it just seemed like, I don't know, things was just going crazy in my life. And I was messing with this wicked ass chick at this time. And well, before I started messing with her, I was messing with this other chick, and she was Haitian. And something about her just didn't seem right. I'd always heard the stories. My family's from Louisiana, so, I know that voodoo is not nothing to play with, And so I'd heard these stories, and I was all in the midst of her and trying to be all up under her. And I don't know, I really, really think that being around her, I think that's what put the demons on me from that point. And I didn't understand what was going on. And I started hearing voices, like I started hearing stuff, and I couldn't explain it. All my life, I had dealt with two things all my life. I had dealt with night terror. Shalom. I had dealt with night terror. And for people who don't know what night terror is when you go to sleep and have a dream, but you're fully conscious that it's a dream. Like I had been dealing with that since I was a child, and I told many people about it, but like I said, everybody kind of played it off, kind of just played me, like I was just making it up. And I also always, and still to today, I have dreams about stuff before it comes true. And I would try to tell people that, but nobody would listen to me. So I got to the point to where I was just holding it in. I wouldn't talk to nobody about it. And like I said, at this point, I was starting to hear voices. And I was starting to hear a lot of these voices was coming at night. And I couldn't get that. Now, like I said, at this point in my life, I'm about in my mid-20s, my early 20s, and I was messing with this wicked ass chick. Like, it was just, man, it was just a wicked situation. You know what I'm saying? And I was sitting back, and like I said, I was hearing voices, and it got to the point to where these voices was getting louder and louder. And I used to say to myself, like, what's wrong with me? Like, am I schizophrenic? Like, am I going crazy? Like, what the fuck? I couldn't get it. And I was just sitting back, and I used to hear these voices, and I'm just to kind of describe what I was hearing. Imagine being in a room, and there's like 100 people in a room, and everybody's talking at one time, but you can't make out one word nobody's saying. Like literally, what I was hearing in my ear was like babble. And I started noticing that I was hearing this at night. I would never hear it during the day. But every time I would go to lay down at night, I was hearing it. And like I said, at first I would hear it. I was kind of ignoring it, like maybe I'm tripping. Maybe I done smoked too much weed, whatever the case. But I couldn't understand why I kept on hearing these voices. And over a period of time, still messing with the same wicked ass chick and being wicked, it started getting worse and worse and worse. Now y'all gonna have to see my face for this. I was hearing these voices, and these voices that got so bad that I was starting to second guess being in houses at night by myself. I was starting to second guess. I'm a grown fucking man, dude. I'm starting to second guess sleeping in a house with the lights off. Like seriously, man, like it was that bad. And the final straw, the day I couldn't take it no more, I was in my house and I was by myself. I was alone. My girlfriend, I think her mama was sick. She had to go stay at her mom's house, take care of her mom's for a few days. So I'm in my house and just doing my usual shit. And as it's starting to get dark, I start to hear these voices. So I'm like, all right. So I'm like, okay, whatever. And so I tried it again. I got up out my bed. I turned the light on. I'm like, all right. And I was like, you know what? I'm like, fuck that. I ain't scared. I left the light on. I was scared, so I left that damn light on. And I went and I laid back in my bed. And I mean, as soon as I closed my eyes, it was like, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, what the fuck? And when I opened my eyes, it stopped. And I was like, wait. I was like, something's not right about this shit. And I went and I laid back down again. So I was like, hold on. I closed my eyes again. As soon as I closed my eyes, it was like, boop, 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 boop. And I was like, wait. The last time I sat there, and I was like, okay, am I fucking tripping or what, Milton? I'm like, the fucking light is on. At this point, the light is on. I'm like, something ain't right. So I was like, you know what? Let me just see something. I did this. I blinked. I was like, let me blink real fast. And I said, boop, boop. And I was like, oh shit. From that point on, when I got up out of my bed, I was scared to death. because I knew something was wrong. I couldn't figure out what it was that was wrong. But what it was, I was under attack by a demon and I could not understand it. But I was scared as hell. And I knew, like, at that moment, like, I knew there was nobody I could turn to. Like, who can you turn to when you're hearing voices at night? Like, it's not a pistol you can get. It's not a baseball bat. It's not your fist. Like, I knew from that moment, like, I was in like some kind of battle with something that I couldn't see. And like, man, I was crying, dude. I was crying so bad, bro. Like the tears was just falling from my face, bro. The only thing I knew to do at that time, I went and grabbed the Bible. Like that was the only thing I knew to do. And I sat there. I couldn't tell you what I was reading today. I can't remember what I read. But I know I started reading and I was being sincere and I was reading and I was reading and I probably read for about 30 minutes. And when I got done reading, I stopped and I prayed. And the whole time I'm flipping through the book, I mean, tears are falling so bad because I'm scared, bro. The tears are falling in my Bible as I'm reading. And like I said, when I finally stopped reading, I started praying. And the tears were still falling as I'm praying. And I'm praying, and I probably was praying for about 20 minutes nonstop. And I'm crying the whole time. And towards the end of my prayer, at the end of my prayer, I asked God, I said, God, I was like, if you remove this chattering demon from my mind, I'll stop this evil shit that I'm doing. And I'm praying and praying, and I finished my prayer. And when I got done finishing my prayer, I went to my bed and I turned the light off. And I've never heard that sound again. And from that day, I knew that there was something real and more bigger than me, something I couldn't see. I knew God existed from that day because God answered my prayer. He stopped me from hearing that. And I mean, I'm saying this again, dude. I was a grown fucking man in a house, second guessing being alone. I'm a grown man, dude, in a house. I'm not a little guy, bro. I'm 250 pounds, man. Like, I'm a grown man in a house, second guessing, turn off the damn lights to the point to where I'm trying to stay up at night. You know, that's before I did that prayer. And when I did that prayer, when it all stopped, it just seemed like I had a sense of peace and calmness. But I didn't give up the wickedness yet. I hadn't gave it up. But God removed the chattering demon from me. And fast forward some more years, man, just stuff that was happening to me in my life. And I couldn't, like I said, I couldn't make sense of it. I couldn't get an understanding of it. And like I said, I still had people in my ear. At this point, I still never have went back into a church, and I still had not picked up my Bible again from that time I prayed. So I didn't, like I said, I was just wicked. But I remembered from that day, I always had it in my mind. I knew God was real. I knew God was real from that day. And like I said, man, that shit right there, man, it'll change you. Like, that will change you. And a few years later, I started having dreams again about stuff that was gonna happen before it happened. And I had one particular dream that one of my good friends was at my cousin's house. And I called myself gonna pop up at my cousin's house and surprise them because I had plenty of weed and shit. I was gonna smoke with them. And I called myself gonna pop up at their house. And when I popped up at their house, my good friend was sitting right there. And I had to sit down and I was like, man, like it just all came to me fast. And I was like, man. Fast forward to about 2 years ago, I'm right here in the same place that I work at. And just as now, as you see the headphones in, I'm at work, doing my work. And I got my YouTube on autoplay, so I'm not even looking at what's going on my phone. And the brothers from GMS had came on, and I was listening to it, and I was walking around, and I was like, what? Like, who is this talking? And I was actually listening to the GMS Houston camp. And I looked at my phone. I was like, okay. And from that point on, from that point on, I really started accepting the stuff they were saying. And I got into my Bible at that time, and I started really reading and reading and reading. I started really studying, and all day at work, this is what I was doing. I was listening to the brothers, and I would be listening to various camps all 8 hours continuously. And when I would go home, I would go study. I would write down the scriptures. They would say like, "Are they telling the truth?" So I started writing it down, and I'm starting to go in to see this stuff for myself. And I was like, okay, okay. And that's when it was one day I was watching Sakari 1715, and the B system actually ended and cut off their video in the midst of them talking. And that's when that particular day I went to another Sakari channel, and that's actually when I seen Judah. And I seen Judah was throwing shots at their ass at the bottom. And I actually went and I clicked on his page and I started watching him from that time. And I was still watching him in various camps and everything. And that's how I came. I mean, basically, from the brothers from the camps, that's how it brought me into the truth. But the thing that sealed me and compelled me the most was when I started listening to the brothers. I was thinking about that night that I prayed and that I stopped hearing them voices. And like that was the one main thing. Like I just kept thinking about that night. And all praise to Yahweh, man. Now it's a totally different position. And I just want to give you a quick testimony. This is about December 23rd that just passed 2 days before Christmas. I came into work. I had no money. Understand that? I had no money. And I was hungry. I didn't eat no breakfast. I didn't do anything. And like I said, this was just December 23rd. And I knew I wasn't going to be able to make it through the day. My stomach was already hurting when I walked into work. I work a manual labor job. I work right here in the warehouse. So, I'm a machinist. And I knew, I was like, what am I going to do? And I just instantly prayed. I came back here in the same area I'm in. And I prayed, and I was like, Howard, please give me something to eat. I was like, I know I'm not going to make it through the day. I know I'm not going to make it. I was like, please give me something to eat. So Yahweh works in mysterious ways. So I go back in there, and I'm doing my work, and one of our inventory trucks pulls up with his delivery. So as I'm still sitting here on the forklift right now, I go in, and I go to grab the stuff off of him. Me and him are just having a small little conversation. I was like, well, go enjoy your holidays. Make sure you enjoy your holidays. Because, like I said, this was December 23rd. And I knew that, I would be out for the next 2 days. And he was like, I appreciate it. And he went to his truck. And I got back on the forklift. And I was driving the forklift back in. And he walked to his truck. And he walked back up to me. And he had one of those blue boxes of Christmas cookies. Now, I said right to myself, I don't give a fuck if this Christmas logo's on here. I had prayed Yahweh give me something to eat. And this truck driver was like, here, you can have that. It was a whole fresh new box of Christmas cookies that not ever been opened. And I tore that shit up. I'm like, I'm not finna sit here and throw this away because it's got a Christmas logo on it. I pray Yahweh give me something to eat. And he did. And I was thankful for it, and it's just, and like I said, that was December 23rd. So I'm just going to say, man, stay faithful to you. He will take care of you. But you have to have absolute faith and believe. When I was sitting back here, I was praying. Bro, just like now, just like tears falling. Bro, I was praying because, I knew I didn't have nobody else to go to. I knew I didn't have nothing else to do. Who else could I go to? I ran to Yahweh. At my time of the stress, that's who I called, and he fixed it. And like I told brothers, man, I want to give my testimony, man. I'm finna go ahead, clock back into work, man. Cause man, it is what it is, man. Just want to say shalom. All praise Yahweh. Thank y'all for coming through, man. But this is my testimony. We go ahead and get back to work, man. Shalom, y'all.